The tomb of Qin Shi Huang. Beneath a pyramid in Xi'an, China, lies the unopened tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the man who built the Great Wall. He died in 210 BCE. His tomb has never been opened. The terracotta army you've seen in pictures, those 8,000 clay soldiers, they're just the guards outside. The actual tomb is at the center, completely sealed. Ground-penetrating radar shows a massive underground palace. Historians from 100 BCE describe what's inside. A ceiling covered in pearls representing stars, rivers of liquid mercury representing China's waterways, an entire empire recreated underground. In 1981, archaeologists tested the soil. Mercury levels were 100 times higher than normal. The ancient descriptions might be real. Opening it could release enough mercury vapor to kill everyone nearby. The Chinese government has banned excavation, not because they don't know where it is, because they know exactly what happens if you open it. The tomb will stay sealed for at least another century, maybe longer. Vault B of Padmanabhaswamy Temple. In 2011, the Supreme Court of India ordered a temple in Kerala to open its underground vaults. 5 vaults were opened. Inside, $22 billion in gold and jewels. One vault, Vault B, was never opened. The door has no locks, no hinges, no handles, just 2 cobras painted on the surface with their tails intertwined. Temple priests say it's sealed by a sacred chant that's been lost for centuries. According to tradition, opening it without the proper ritual brings catastrophe. Not just for whoever opens it, for the entire region. The Supreme Court specifically exempted Vault B, ordered it to remain sealed. Ground-penetrating radar confirms there's a massive chamber behind the door. The door itself appears to be part of the wall, not something that opens, but masonry marked as an entrance. In the 1930s, workers tried to force it open. They heard hissing from behind the door. Several became ill. The attempt was abandoned. Vault B is the only place where modern courts have ruled that something should never be opened. Not because we can't, because we've decided we shouldn't. The Vatican Secret Archives, Armarium 14th. The Vatican has 85 kilometers of shelves filled with historical documents. Most are accessible to researchers. But there's a section, Armarium 14, that only the Pope and select archivists can enter. We know it exists because Vatican documents reference it. We know approximately what's inside. Original texts of papal letters that were never sent. Records of secret negotiations during World War II. Documentation of suppressed theological works. Intelligence agency communications during the Cold War. There's no application process to access it. It's simply closed. In 2020, Pope Francis opened archives from 1939 to 1958, a major transparency move. But even within those newly opened files, certain documents were marked restricted. They're listed in the catalog, but cannot be requested. Vatican officials say some materials are too sensitive, that releasing them without context would cause more harm than good. Unlike ancient tombs, this vault is actively maintained by a living institution. They could open it tomorrow. They choose not to. North Korea's Room 39 Vault. In Pyongyang, there's an organization called Room 39. It generates foreign currency for the regime through counterfeiting, drug trafficking, insurance fraud, and arms sales. Somewhere in that building is a vault containing all the documentation. Paper records going back to the 1970s. Everything they've done, everyone they've paid, every crime. We know about this vault from defectors who work nearby. They describe an underground facility with complete records, accounting for every illegal operation, technical details of how they counterfeit currency, evidence of which foreign officials they have bribed, documentation of drug production facilities, records of arms sales to terrorist organizations. International law enforcement agencies, FBI, Interpol, have been trying to piece together Room 39's activities for decades. But without the vault, they're guessing. Defectors say there are protocols to destroy everything if the regime starts to collapse. The vault contains evidence of international crimes, evidence that will likely be destroyed before anyone can access it. This isn't a vault sealed by ancient ritual. It's a vault sealed by one of the most paranoid regimes on Earth. The tomb beneath the Taj Mahal. The tombs you see when you visit the Taj Mahal, they're not real. They're markers. The actual bodies, Mumtaz Mahal and Shah Jahan, are in a sealed chamber directly below. It's been closed since the 1650s. It has never been opened. Archaeological surveys confirm it exists. Original architectural plans show it, but India's archaeological survey has no plans to open it, ever. The chamber has been sealed for 370 years. Opening it introduces oxygen and humidity that could destroy whatever's inside in hours. There's also religious sensitivity. It's not just a monument, it's a burial site. Some accounts claim Shah Jahan was buried with treasures, jewels, artifacts, valuable items, but there's no inventory. No one knows what's actually down there. Local legend says plans for a second Taj Mahal, a black marble version, are sealed somewhere in the lower chamber. Historians call this romantic myth, but the legend persists. The lower chamber will likely remain sealed permanently, not because of engineering problems, because disturbing it serves no purpose beyond curiosity. Svalbard Global Seed Vault, the Forbidden Section. On a remote Norwegian island, 800 miles from the North Pole, is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, humanity's backup for agriculture. If crops are wiped out by disease, war, or climate change, these seeds can restart farming. The vault stores over 1 million seed samples. Most are accessible for withdrawal by the countries that deposited them. But there's a section, a separate chamber, that's permanently sealed. Seeds that can be deposited but never withdrawn. This section contains seeds from extinct crop varieties, plants that no longer exist in the wild, the last samples of agricultural species that have disappeared. It also contains something else, seeds from countries that no longer exist, the Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, nations that have dissolved, leaving their seed deposits in legal limbo. No one has authority to withdraw these seeds because the depositing governments no longer exist. They're frozen in legal and political stasis. There's also a classified section, samples deposited by governments with the stipulation that they can never be accessed except by specific authorization. The contents aren't public. The depositing countries aren't disclosed. The vault's purpose is preservation. But preservation means keeping things sealed. The forbidden section represents seeds that may never be planted again. Genetic diversity locked away because there's no legal mechanism to release it. The KGB Archives, Lubyanka Basement. The Lubyanka building in Moscow was KGB headquarters. After the Soviet Union collapsed, many KGB files were released or destroyed, but the basement levels, particularly sub-level 4, remain sealed. Russian security services acknowledge these basement archives exist. They're maintained by the FSB, the KGB's successor organization. But they've never been open to historians or the public. Based on defector accounts and leaked internal documents, the sealed levels contain complete records of foreign intelligence operations during the Cold War, documentation of assassinations carried out abroad, files on foreign agents, some of whom are still alive and whose exposure would cause international incidents, evidence of Soviet involvement in events that remain officially denied. In the 1990s, during the brief period of Russian openness, there were discussions about declassifying these materials. But security services argued that revealing certain operations would endanger current Russian intelligence activities and foreign relationships. The basement also reportedly contains documentation of Soviet domestic operations, surveillance records of millions of citizens, records of political prisoners, documentation of government crimes. Some of these materials have been leaked piecemeal over the years, but the complete archives remain sealed. Unlike the gradual declassification that happens in Western countries, Russia has moved in the opposite direction. Materials that were briefly accessible in the 1990s have been reclassified. The Lubyanka basement is more sealed now than it was 30 years ago. The vault will likely remain closed as long as the current Russian government maintains power. The contents are too politically sensitive, too damaging to current intelligence operations, and too revealing of crimes that the government has no interest in acknowledging. The Treasury under the Temple Mount. Beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, one of the most contested religious sites on Earth, ground-penetrating radar has detected massive voids, chambers, passages, and what appears to be a sealed vault. The Temple Mount is sacred to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It's where the Jewish first and second temples stood. It's where Muslims believe Muhammad ascended to heaven. Any excavation is politically and religiously explosive. The Israeli Antiquities Authority has mapped underground structures using non-invasive methods. They've found chambers that match descriptions from historical texts, storage rooms where temple treasures were supposedly hidden before the Roman destruction in 70 CE. The most intriguing detection is a vault in the southeastern section. The radar signature suggests a sealed chamber with metal objects inside, possibly temple artifacts, possibly treasures described in ancient texts. But excavation is impossible. The Temple Mount is controlled by the Islamic Waqf. Digging would be seen as an attack on Muslim holy sites. Israel has agreed not to excavate in exchange for maintaining security control of the area. In 1981, there was a plan by religious extremists to tunnel under the Temple Mount to access the sealed chambers. The plot was discovered and stopped. Any similar attempt now would trigger international crisis. The vault, if it contains what researchers suspect, might hold artifacts from the Second Temple period, objects described in historical texts but never found, possibly items from the temple treasury itself. It will remain sealed not because we can't reach it, because touching it could start a war. Cheyenne Mountain, the closed levels. Deep inside Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado, is a massive military complex. Most people know it as the former NORAD headquarters, the Nuclear War Command Center. The complex has multiple levels. Some have been decommissioned, some are active military installations, and some, the deepest levels, have been permanently sealed. These sealed levels were built during the Cold War for purposes that remain classified. Based on declassified documents and statements by former personnel, they were designed as long-term survival bunkers for government continuity in case of nuclear war, storage for critical records and materials needed to rebuild society, possibly vaults containing backup copies of crucial government documents, financial records, and cultural archives. In the 1990s, when NORAD operations moved to Peterson Air Force Base, many Cheyenne Mountain facilities were decommissioned, but the sealed levels were never opened. Instead, they were further secured and remain under military control. Former personnel who worked at Cheyenne Mountain have mentioned these levels in interviews, but are bound by non-disclosure agreements. They describe them as time capsules, vaults intended to preserve information and materials for use after a nuclear war. The U.S. military has never officially confirmed or denied the existence of these sealed levels. They're not included in public tours of the facility, and there's no indication they'll ever be opened unless the catastrophic scenarios they were designed for actually occur. This represents a unique category of vault, one sealed not because of what's inside, but because of what conditions would need to exist before opening it makes sense. It's a vault designed to stay closed until civilization ends. Fukushima Reactor 3 core. Beneath the damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant in Japan lies the melted core of Reactor 3. It's been there since the 2011 earthquake and tsunami caused meltdowns. We know roughly where it is. Radiation measurements and robotic surveys have mapped its approximate location. It's in the basement of the containment structure, mixed with melted fuel, control rods, and structural material, a radioactive mass called corium. But it's never been directly accessed. It's too radioactive for humans to approach. Robots sent to investigate have failed. Radiation fries their electronics. The few images captured show twisted metal and debris, but not the core itself. The corium is estimated to weigh over 100 tons. It's somewhere between 3,000 and 8,000 Celsius. Its exact composition, structure, and state are unknown. The Japanese government and TEPCO, the power company, have no concrete plan for accessing or removing it. Current estimates suggest that direct removal won't be possible for 40 to 50 years, if ever. The vault here isn't sealed by locks or religious prohibition. It's sealed by physics. The core sits in a chamber that nothing can survive entering. Engineers have discussed possibilities: advanced robots that can withstand higher radiation, remote-controlled drilling to break up the mass, flooding the chamber, and attempting underwater extraction. But these are theoretical. No tested technology exists. What makes this particularly unsettling is that we created this vault. Human action sealed something that now cannot be unsealed. It's a tomb of our own making, containing material so dangerous that it must remain entombed indefinitely. Unlike ancient vaults that might one day be opened, Fukushima's core will likely remain inaccessible for generations. It's the newest vault on this list, and possibly the one that will stay sealed the longest. 10 vaults, some sealed by governments. Some by religion, some by physics, some by politics. What they share, we know they exist. We know roughly what's inside. We could potentially open most of them, but we don't. Sometimes because opening them is too dangerous, sometimes because we've decided certain things are better left sealed, sometimes because the political or religious consequences outweigh the benefit of knowing. These vaults represent a strange reality. We have more ability to discover secrets than ever before. Radar that sees through rock, robots that go where humans can't. But some doors we choose to leave closed. The question isn't whether we could open them, it's whether we should.